is the Nico Lagan Show. Frankly, motivation is bullshit. What you need is discipline, and your mindset is the difference between success and failure. Warning. Warning. This show contains explicit content. Listener discretion is advised. Real, raw, and shooting you straight. This is the Nico Lagan Show. And now your host, Nico.
Welcome to the first episode of the Nico Lagan Show. I have the pleasure to be sitting with Vinny Success. What's going on, man?
Thank you for having me on your first podcast. It's an honor to be here.
You're popping the cherry, man. That's what you're doing.
That's what I like that.
Yeah, most guys do.
Yeah.
So tell us what you do, why you do it, and who the hell are you?
My name is Vinny Success. I'm a 35-year-old entrepreneur. I'm the founder of two businesses. The first one that people mostly know me for is called Success Clothing. It's a streetwear company that I started in 2008. It was just a way for me to express myself and then put my art onto clothes and dress people up. And in my new business venture now, it's called teaser.ca. So we're a platform that helps other businesses and other brands to create and help them with the production of their own brand. So we're basically like the brand behind brands. Yeah. So I do it now because it's like I'm at a point where I'm at a point in my life where I want to help other people do what I did 10, 15 years ago.
Mentorship type of situation, right?
Yeah, mentorship, and be more a guy more like a behind the scenes kind of guy, less in the front, more in the back, and let other people shine instead.
Do you think it's important to teach people? Because you did it a certain way, you learned, you made obviously you've made mistake, and you're not done making mistake. You'll do a bunch more, I'm sure. But I find that one of the qualities that we lack now today in today's society is we make a mistake, we have a failure, most people quit. Instead of seeing it as a learning experience and saying, you know what, fuck it, this didn't work, what can I do to make it work next time? Is that a bit the idea behind it? You're kind of, because there's mistakes that don't need to be made. Some mistake needs to be made, but you can teach the mistakes that they don't need to make, right?
Well, not all mistakes are created equal. Like some mistakes are big, some mistakes are small, some are harder to overcome than others, and mostly some mistakes are more expensive than others. Right? I've done some pretty expensive mistakes, and I just want to, like the production game is a tough game. That's where a lot of the mistakes happen. Everybody who want to launch their brand kind of know what they want to do, kind of know what marketing they want to make. Yeah. But the whole making clothes part is the difficult part. And then, so I come in for that, and I just help people out to avoid, like, basically, I'm like a one-stop shop. So people just pay me for my service and my expertise and my network of production. And I guarantee it with my brand. Like, you liked my brand for the last 15 years, you're going to get the same type of product, same type of quality, but for your business, your brand, your restaurant, and it's like one feeds off each other now. So it is kind of like, it's not really teaching, it's more like giving a handout for the next generation, and at the same time building my business doing that, right?
So what made you do it in the first place? Because 15 years for most people is a long time. Most people quit way before that. So what made you 15 years ago to say, I want to do an apparel brand and I want to make a living? Not only that, but I want to fucking make a living off of it too.
Yeah. Well, my background is graphic design. So I've always been a guy who likes to draw. Like, before graphic design, I was doing a lot of graffiti and drawing. And then the clothing itself kind of came naturally. Like, I started doing graphic design. Then I wanted a little bit more. Graphic design, most of the time, it stays on paper or it stays on a screen. So the fact that I could bring my art out on people and give it like a second life to see people wear it, it gives some movement to your art, right? And then eventually I got hired into like these big corporations who do clothing. I learned a lot there. It was like a boot camp. And when I quit those companies, we used to make clothes for like Walmart and Zellers and all these big chains. I learned enough to like really, really jumpstart my brand. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go all in. I'm not made to be like an employee anyway. I never really had a job or was able to keep a job for a long time. I think my last job was like I was working at Costco. Yeah, that was like like probably 20 years ago or something. So being able to put my logos onto people and see them wear gives them like another dimension to my art, which really fueled what I wanted like at that time, right?
What made you take the step? Because this is always the hardest part. We were talking about this as I was setting up the gear. To me, a regular job is a new form of slavery, right? You can use it to fund your other projects that you're doing when you're not working. Yeah. You need to have a side hustle or side hustles. Yeah. But what made you do the transition from what we call a secure job, if you will, to say, you know what, screw this, I'm not meant to deal with other people. I'm not meant to work for other people. I'm meant to do what I want to do. What made you do it? Like in the lack of a better way to say it, where'd you get the balls to actually quit your job and say, screw this noise, I'm going on my own?
So, like, it's crazy how social media tries to put employment as a bad thing. Like, employment suits a lot of people,
absolutely,
right? And it gives a security, and it allows a lot of like regular people to have regular life and know, like, I don't know when my paycheck's gonna come. A lot of people can't deal with that, right? But the fact that I was always a little bit edgy and different, I always had a hard time keeping jobs. And when I was a kid, like I was into like skateboarding and punk rock and graffiti. I always had like a rebel side. So whatever job I had, I ended up getting fired anyway. Like I had a lot of problem with authority, like people telling me what to do. And I think even without being an entrepreneur, I probably wouldn't fit in like the regular 9-to-5 job because I'm having such a hard time being told what to do. So eventually it led me that way. It pushed me into building something on my own. And the fact that I was able to create something that people liked and ended up buying, I just went all the way in. There was no looking back. Why, if I don't jump now, I might miss the boat, right? And like the brand really grew big, and then it started out of the trunk of my super old 1991 rusted Civic car. I was doing door to door, and a few years later, I was in like all the big chains, like Empire, Sports Experts, and all that. And I started exporting my stuff. So I had stores like in France, in Japan, in the States, in Vancouver. So once I got in, I never really looked back. But it went super naturally. It was never like a decision. It just led me A led to B, B led to C, and then I started jumping letters after it went so fast, right? And then C led to F, you know. So but I think being an entrepreneur, at one point, it kind of have to come within, right? Not everybody's built for that.
No.
That's why 10% of the society is an entrepreneur, and we need employees.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot of stress to handle. It's a lot of stress not knowing how you're going to pay your bills next week or how you're going to pay your rent and all that. So it's not meant for everybody. But once you get used to it, it becomes like a drug almost. Like I am addicted to that chase, because like some months are low, some months are high, and you're always trying to make next month better than the last one. So
it drives you then. The fact that you have to go chase that out for yourself is a driven factor.
I never had a stable paycheck for the last 15 years. I never know what's going to happen next month. Even now, like I kind of have forecasts, but some stuff happened. Pandemic happens, like when shit hits the fan, you don't expect that, then you lose all your revenue, and you have to change. Like that's when the teaser company jumped in. Like, because the pandemic hit, I lost all my stores in like a 2-month window. Everybody's like, we're not buying anymore.
Shit, that's true. Right?
Like, we don't know when we're going to reopen, so we're not buying.
Damn, that's true.
So during the pandemic, I was about to ship all my stores, so I kept everything, and I was like, damn, what am I doing with this? And I started doing online more and more, and I sold everything online.
Yeah.
And then you have to adapt, like, oh, okay, what's next? And then Teaser came in. It's like, okay, so how about you make shirts for others? If you can't, if the stores don't buy your shirts, might as well make shirts for others. And then it blew into like $1 million business during the pandemic, you know?
Damn.
Yeah. Never know. We'll never know.
You just have to do it. There's no other way to know either. You just have to take the plunge and do it.
Yeah. You see an opportunity in the market, you take it, and you just ride with it. Like, I saw there was something going on. Everybody's either, like in every crisis, either you're not doing anything or you're doing something really big. There's no in between.
No.
People get out of crisis a lot richer or a lot poorer. Nobody stays the same, right?
You're absolutely right. It's the same thing as when you got the market going down. You have two type of people. You have people that sell their shares.
Yeah.
And you have people like me that will say, "Ooh, everything's on rebate.
Sale.
Let's buy more shit.
Buy more.
Yeah,
but it takes that guts to dump money into projects where you don't, projects or stocks or investment, whatever, that you don't know what the return is going to be like.
I think that one of the biggest problems, at least I see it from the people around me, is that we tend to live above our means too. So even if we wanted to have a side hustle, to have a project, to have something else to work on, most people don't even have the money to dump on it. So instead, would you say that, because I know that's what I did, I didn't buy a big house, although I could. I didn't buy a big car, although I can.
Yeah.
I decided to buy something very low, below average. And the car is just a regular car. The house is just a regular house.
Yeah.
But it gives me so much more income that just this year I probably spent 20 or 30 grand already on just
whatever you
projects,
want.
Coaching for myself to make my businesses better. Just projects that I want to push. I will go all out. Still have a regular job to fund it.
Of course, you got to take money from this side and push it in whatever you're doing for yourself, right?
Is that what you did when you first started? Were you still working when you started your?
No. So what project? I did is that I never really had access to like funding or banks and stuff like that. Yeah. So and I didn't have credit until very late in my life.
Yeah.
So that really, it was a good and a bad thing. The fact that I never got credit, I couldn't expand as fast as I should have.
Yeah.
But the fact that I never had credit, I only could use the money that I had. So my cash flow was always my cash flow. There was never any credit in it. And what I did when I started my business is that I sold a few music equipment that I had laying around, like turntables and DJ stuff. I gathered like $1,500. Yeah. And with that, I paid for my first t-shirt run. And $1,500 turned into, I don't know, like 3,000. Then I took that 3,000, I put it back in. The 3,000 turned into like 5,000. Yeah. And you do that back and forth. And I've always been that kind of guy, like to just inject all in, get a bit out. And now, I would say now I'm more diversified. I don't go all in none of my projects anymore. I like to have different baskets and different revenue streams. But back then I had no choice, right? It was that or going back to the employment market. So
explain to, because you touched on a word that I'm a firm believer in. That's another thing that unfortunately is not explained to us. Credit is not explained.
Yeah.
Like you don't go to school, they don't tell you how to use a credit card.
No.
They don't tell you either. You just spoke about revenue stream. This is another thing that most people don't know about.
Yeah, it's
they
important.
think that somebody that makes a lot of money has one type of revenue. They might, but chances are they don't because you're too exposed.
Yeah.
If that venture goes south, your whole money's gone. But if you have 5, 6, 10 different revenue streams they might not be as large as one massive one, but one can die.
Yeah.
And then the rest just pick up the work and the money doesn't really change. You still continue growing.
Exactly. I would rather have 10 small side hustle that generates $10,000 each than one job that makes $100K.
I totally agree with. I agree with you 1,000%.
Because if your job
90% is still there.
If they lay you off because of whatever reason, you lose 100% of your $100K. then what's gonna support your lifestyle? Like, you're still gotta pay your house, your food, your car,
done.
and
You're
so.
done.
Right now, that's what I think now. But back then, I was all in. That's all I had. That's all I knew, right? I had no financial literacy or knowledge or nothing. So now I leverage a lot of credit, like good credit, not bad credit. Like bad credit, I mean by like consumer credit.
Yeah.
Good credit is stuff that you can leverage to go further and go faster too.
Yeah, so you can inject more money in your business, but yet you're getting it at a very low interest rate.
Exactly. Now, so I learned to play with credit a lot and how to. So basically, I studied that during the lockdown, and I'm like, how these people? And I realized like all the big businesses, even though they have money,
they don't spend it.
They don't spend it. They'll use banks' money. Apple has billions and billions of cash flow. Why do they still borrow money? Because it's the cost of opportunity. Like, it's cheaper to borrow money and use their money for whatever expansion they want to have or development of products and stuff like that.
And it goes even further than that. When you think about it, credit is not taxed.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the year, you can borrow all the money you want from a bank.
Yeah.
The government doesn't tax you on that. You'll pay an interest rate on it, sure, but you're not being taxed on it. So you keep your own money. Exactly. You leave it in the bank account, or you invest it. Whatever you do, you invest it out.
Yeah.
But don't put that in your business if you don't have to.
Exactly.
Spend somebody else's money.
I always spend other people's money now. I follow this guy called The Credit Dude on Instagram. He's he's amazing. He gives so much trick that now so for example, my business, I ask credit at the supplier. So I get close out and I pay them a month, sometimes 2 months later. And when I do pay them, I already got my money from my clients, so it's like I could pay them right away. Then I pay them with my credit card. I get another 30 days and I get all my cash back from it. And then when that expires, I still need another month. I'll use my credit line to pay my credit card, which is like, instead of like 20%, it's probably like 4%. And then if I need an extra, then I can stretch it infinitely. And then I can even use my house, my mortgage, to use a home equity line of credit and pull that money out. And there's so much way to be creative around credit, as long as you're good with your money. People get drowned in their credit.
Be smart.
Exactly. And I get cash back in there. I get thousands of dollars of cash back. But people get drowned because they lose track of what to pay back, you know?
It's one of the things I've learned from, as funny as it sounds, from influencers. So they will have a credit card. Everything they will sell. Let's say they have a line of T-shirt. Everything is bought with the credit card.
Of course.
They get the credit card I have right now is 5 times the point on almost everything.
Sick.
So I get 5 times the point on everything. At the end of the month, because people don't know, but your credit card doesn't start charging you until your next bill cycle. So after just the 29th day of the month, you go to your line of credit. That's at 4 something.
And you pay the other one back.
You pay your credit card, but you collected all the points on that credit card. A lot of influencers actually travel for free just because of that. All the customers they push to their apparel, to their whatever the product is, they take the point.
They fly.
And they fly for free, because if you're smart with a credit card, your credit card's always paid.
Of course.
It's always
paid.
I
pay it every Monday. I open my account, I pay it back completely. So I use it as almost like a transactional debit card almost. Like I use it I always paid back the next week, so there's no balance. And I saw a video once who said debit versus credit. And if you have like $10,000 on credit and $10,000 in your bank account, if you get frauded and someone frauds your card, would you rather lose your $10,000 or you would lose the bank $10,000? I'm like, oh, that's smart. I don't want to lose my money.
I've seen that video too. I've seen that. Plus, the credit card is protected.
It's protected.
Up the ass.
They have insurance. Like you don't lose a penny.
And they won't even argue. They can track where the money went. They're like,
but then if it's your money,
you're fucked.
You're fucked. How are you gonna pay rent this month if your money's gone, right?
It's funny because I'm only discovered that in my 30s too.
I discovered that like 2 years ago.
But this is what blows my mind is that nobody really teaches you that in school. Most parents are illiterate when it comes to that, so they can't teach that to their kids either. Don't know. I know my parents didn't teach me that.
Yeah.
So you have to learn it from yourself. Hopefully, we have YouTube.
I learned everything on YouTube. Honestly, it's Spotify during the, it's crazy because before my other business, the clothing business, the store is the one asking for credit. Right? So I ship my goods and they pay me maybe 60 days after.
Yeah.
But I paid my goods maybe 30 days before shipping. So I have a 90-day window where I don't get paid.
Yep.
Now it's the opposite. Since COVID, everything switched back with my new printing business. It's like, now you got to pay me up front to make your shirts.
Yeah.
So I get my money before starting the production instead of after.
Yep.
And I use their money as cash flow.
Of course.
And I use credit on top of that. So I have tons of positive cash flow since I just switched the business model around. And I also watched something similar, how Starbucks finances all their future operations by selling gift cards. So they're selling million dollars of gift cards without selling a single coffee, taking all that money and then just do whatever expansion they need to do with it without selling a coffee.
And you know what's the best part out of that is I'd be curious to see what the percentage of people that actually cash in.
You're right.
Those, because
not everybody goes.
I've had some cards that were given to me. They sit in a wallet, stuck between two cards, and you never use it.
Or sometimes I have, I don't know, like $50. There's only $1.25 left, and I never end up using that $1.25 because what am I going to buy for $1?
That is so true.
So it's lost, and it's the same concept as pre-booking Tesla cars or whatever. They're just taking all these deposits, financing all their operations, and they didn't sell one product yet.
And what's messed up is that, let's say you have a $50, there's $1.50 left on it. One person is just $1.50. If there's 500,000 people,
exactly.
There's a million people
they just
that
let it go.
That, they don't care. They forget about it. So that's free money that people didn't even spend in your store.
I have a card at Sports Expert. There's about $2 left. What am I going to buy? There's nothing at $2 there.
No.
So I would have to spend another $10 to use it. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm not going to use it.
But it's clever. Once you start understanding how credit works, and I think
it's good for cash flow too.
Well, that's a thing, and social media is a great source of bullshit, but it's also a great source of great material if you can find the right people to follow.
Yeah.
It's free advice. The advice is right there.
The knowledge is there.
Super short, so if it's on Instagram, it's a minute to 3 minute video top, and you've learned an important thing every single fucking time you listen to a specific person.
It really depends on how you manage your feed, right? Like, let's say back then, my feed was full of junk, and it was a bunch of a lot of entertainment, right?
Obviously,
And then now what I did is I have 2 or 3 different accounts with different feeds. Like my Success clothing account has a lot of fashion entertainment.
Obviously.
But my personal Vinny Success one is only stuff that I can learn from. So it's almost an educational feed.
It's exactly.
And I wiped out, people got mad because I wiped out even personal friends. It's like, I don't want you on that feed. I don't want to see what your baby's doing, whatever. I just want to learn new stuff every time I open it. And we spend so much time on Instagram and Facebook. Why would we bother thinking about other people's life when you can actually learn on there, right? So
you're bringing up a very interesting point. So you're saying yourself that as you're cleaning a house, let's say on your Facebook feed and on your Instagram feed, you're removing people that you've known forever, that know you personally, and you're simply not fucking interested in their personal life. And I get it. I'm the same way.
It's nothing personal.
No,
it's just it doesn't fit, right?
You're using your social media. I use my social media as a learning platform as well. The people that are on there are people I either do business with, I interact with directly, or they have something to teach me.
Exactly.
But most people is not for that. And the question I have for you, do you find that it creates tensions with people you've known for a long time? Because the more successful you become, and I'm noticing that, the less friends you have, because the only friends that I have around myself are successful people and people I look up to. They have something to teach me or vice versa, but there's a growth component to it. So the people that are not in the same, because you said yourself, 10% of people have a entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah.
That means 90% of people are employees, and it's good. There's nothing wrong with that. But you don't surround yourself with employees when you're an employer. You surround yourself with mostly...
It doesn't really matter to me, because as long as people are on the same mindset as I am, whether they're... Some employees think like entrepreneurs. They just didn't launch their business yet. And some entrepreneurs are terrible and they still think like employees. So it's not really a matter of where do you work.
It's a good point.
It's a matter of like where I stand in my life and my mind right now. And I only want people on the same level and above. And
absolutely.
And all my life, every year, I cut out people. Like I get out of my way to cut out people. So let's say January, I'm very drastic, right? So January, I'm like, okay, who I hung out with last year? What do we do? What did we do together? And let's say it was nothing really constructive. It's not personal. I'm just gonna slowly, like, not wipe you out, but I'm gonna slowly take distances, and then slowly we're gonna talk less and less, so I can have more room for newer, interesting people. That's gonna bring me to the next step. Like, I my thing is I don't want to be the biggest fish in a small pond, and I always want to be the smallest fish in a big pond because there's room to grow. And I have had friends who even called me recently, like they were pissed that we're not friends on social medias anymore. But it's just that in this game of succeeding, like, no pun intended, we have to be super selfish. And it not everybody's built for this. People who are too emotional and are too attached to people, they have a hard time doing this. And It got me kind of on the loner side because I had this tendency to like get away from people. But there's so many people out there. Like, one's gone, you can meet 10 more, and as long as people stimulates me, I'm gonna keep them around. As soon there's no more stimulation, and like, if we sit down and we talk about nothing or just entertainment or whatever, doesn't interest me. Like, I'm in a mindset right now where I want to talk about investments, stock markets, real estate, business. How do we become the next big thing? What can I, or even coaching, what can I give an advice to you, and what advice can you give to me? So that's stimulating. But if we're gonna sit down and talk about, like, I don't know, like what whoever were at the gala the other day and stuff like that, it doesn't interest me anymore. Like, what new rapper did, or I just don't care, you know.
You know, they say that there's three type of people. You got people that talk about gossip. There's people that talks about ideas, and there are people that are going to talk about changing the world. That third one is...
I'm not there yet.
I'm not there either.
I like to talk about ideas and concepts. It's because you're not going to execute all of them, but it's fun to stay in that mindset, to always think about what could be done or what can be done better, you know?
It's stimulating. I know it's stimulating to me to be able to have my best friend and we hang out all the time. Like, he'll spend the weekend over. We don't have small talk the whole time. We'll be sitting with cigars and we're just talking, and we're developing stuff together. Like, there's things that we've been working on that are going to come out soon, and it's all from there. It's our free time. We're sitting, we're chilling the same way other people are doing. Just the conversations that are happening are not wasted conversation. But
everything's about balance too. I have friends who we just, like, with all that super smart intellectual talk, I need that kind of super dumb talk too, right? So it's a 90%, 10% thing.
You want to shout out your dumb friends?
No, not dumb friends, but like sometimes we don't talk about like super intellectual stuff, but it's good to just release some steam and have fun too. And like, I have stuff that is non-intellectual. Like, I'm a big car guy, so it's passions like that really balances out everything. Because I'm not extreme to a point where I want to be drowned in business and drowned in like intellectual things all the time. Like, I need some, you know, stuff to relax and cool down too, you know, like everybody else.
Do you consider yourself obsessed with what you do?
I'm not so much obsessed with what I do, but I'm really obsessed where I'm going. Like, I know exactly where I want to go and what are the steps to get there. And it's a long game. It's a long marathon. It's not a sprint, right? So I kind of have this life plan in my head that I've been slowly going up the stairs here. Every 3-4 years is like a big step up, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not obsessed with what I do because I love what I do, right? So the clothing game and the whole production game, I'm really good at it, and it's not even an obsession anymore. It's just more like a skill, right? So like I don't think about and dream about like the clothing itself. I just kind of dream about where the clothing being a tool to get me where I want to go.
I get it.
The tool, the t-shirt is going to be like a dive board to jumps eventually to another thing, and then another thing going to lead to another thing, and then at the end goal is the private jet and like the big life. But every tool is to get there, right?
You think you'll be able to stop when you get... Are you going to even... You know what? Let me ask you this. Do you celebrate your successes or do you just jump to the next one?
I do both. I mean, I like to enjoy what I've accomplished and what I have. And like, I come from so far, right? So people don't know, but like, I'm from Vietnamese background. My family are war refugees. So our family came here with nothing, and just to get, when you come like as a refugee, just to get to point zero is a lot of work. Yeah. Most people who were born here, they either start at zero or they start at plus something. But for us, just to get to zero was hard. And then once I passed zero, it's starting to go faster and faster because it took so much work and effort to get to let's say minus 20 to zero, that from 0 to 20 is easy. So I think I'm never going to stop because it's part of my DNA. It's part of who I am, how I was raised, and what are my other options anyway? Like, what am I going to do? I can't stop now. Like, I've been too far to stop now, you know?
So your parents are here?
Yeah.
How do they enjoy this? Are they proud of what you've accomplished up to now?
Oh yeah, my mom's really proud, and my whole family is very proud. Like every immigrant has someone in their generation line who breaks the curse of poverty, right? And I think I'm going to be the one in my family. Like, you can be, and when I say poor, I don't mean necessarily about money. Poor is like, it's money, but it's also a mindset. It's a mentality. Yeah. If you think you've been poor your whole life, you always, so to surround myself with people who have money, they teach me things and way to think, and they teach me tricks and like all that credit stuff. They give me tools to be one of them. Yep. And it's a lot of part of what I said earlier. My surrounding brought me there. If I was just staying at home and then just printing T-shirts and not meeting anyone, I would probably still be in my basement in Côte des Neiges back then, right? But I just want to be that guy who, if you look at the whole history of every family, there's always one guy who breaks the cycle. Yep. And I want to be the guy. And everybody after, hopefully will get better. Some people bring it, like they bring it back.
It's 4 generations.
Yeah, exactly. But hopefully, like my next 2-3 generations, they don't have to go through all that bullshit that we went through, you know.
It's amazing to be able to break that curse, to break the, because you said it right. It's a mindset. It's really, if you think poor, you'll be poor. But if you're seeing opportunities everywhere and you're ready to do what it takes to jump on it, you might not be rich right away, but it is the mindset. It's the only mindset that you can have in order to make a change. But
rich is not about money itself. Like, even before I had money, I was already rich.
It's like, wealthy, I think, it's the term I prefer to use instead of rich.
Wealthy is different. Being wealthy, like that's another, my goal. That's not another game. Like, rich is when you have a lot of money, but you have to trade your time to get that money. Wealthy is when you're like, you have all these crazy passive income, and then you don't have to work anymore. And that's what I want to do. I want to have
freedom.
Exactly. We chase. We don't chase the money for the money. Money is just a tool to reach freedom. Right.
I want to make as much money as I can so that I can work as little as I can.
Yeah.
This is
I'm slowly getting there, but it's hard. It takes a lot of capital to get there. So slowly you gotta invest every here and there, and then you gotta make moves. And like I'm not gonna hide it, real estate kind of helped me throughout all of that too. You know, like buying the same way I've always flipped things. You know, when I was a kid, I was buying $500 cars, fix it up for $200, sell it for $1,500. Nice. Same things with t-shirts. So now it's like buying.
You're a hustler.
Yeah, I mean, this house is probably like my third or fourth property, and this house was bought as a flip again. Like in a few years, I'm going to sell this house, move to another property, and it's all part of the bigger plan. And business is part of that, but there's like so many tools to get there too, you know.
Well, it goes back to what we were saying earlier about multiple revenue streams, right? Because I'm in real estate too. I invest money. There's some money I create by working. Yeah. There's other money I do by coaching, and there's other passive income that are going to come that I'm working on right now. Yeah. So as you were saying, you have to have your hands in a lot of pies.
Because if one goes down, you have another leg or to sit back on. And so let's say in my case, so if I take the whole thing, Success. Before pandemic, Success was selling to stores a lot, so wholesale. Success has an online store, which is super passive. And the website's always open, so people who order, I don't have to work for that. No. Then I have Teaser. Teaser is like my job, right? Teaser is the one that brings in the money because I have to work for it. Then I can re-inject that money into all these other investment vehicles. I do stock markets. I do bonds. Obviously, real estate is my new thing now. There's people telling me about crypto and all that stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, I don't have enough money to do all of that. But you combine all of that, and it's like if one goes down, there's three more left. You know, if two goes down, there's at least two more left, and you never like cut short.
It's the only way to do it. Like it's normal, as you were saying earlier, to start somewhere. That you start with one specific thing that
you have to be all in at first.
You give it your all, and then once you get there, you diversify as much as you can so that you are not dependent on what made you money in the first place.
Exactly, because you look at the super wealthy of this planet. Not all of them work 1 million hours per week like Elon Musk. A lot of them are just sitting on 50 apartments that generates, I don't know, like $200-$300 per month. Yep. It's enough money to make a living without working, you know.
See, this is right now. I'm doing a reno on one of my properties, and I originally bought it as an investment property. I was renting it out once COVID happened. I got rid of the place I had in Montreal. Okay. Moved into the woods, and then I'm like, I'm gonna start working on myself. There's two types of people, right? People are going to complain about what happened, and there's people like you and I that just said, okay, I can't control what's going on, but I can control what I do with myself. So I started learning. I went in hyperdrive and just started learning. So now I'm at a point where I'm doing a full reno on the house. My plan was to sell it, but the more I'm going closer to finishing, I'm like, I have so much equity in the house now.
You don't need to sell it.
I'm going to simply start renting it again. Take some of the equity that's in it, buy another one, and do the same thing.
Exactly. When you learn the game, or from people who do it, you realize that selling is not always the final step to get your money out. There's ways to refinance, cash out, refinance your house, get your equity out, and then get a second rental property that with the profits pays the first one, and you redo that over and over. Like people with $1 million, tons of doors. They didn't pay for all those doors. They just use the leverage all the time.
And even I was watching a video on Instagram the other day. The guy was saying, never pay your house.
No,
he simply don't even try. Pay your minimum mortgage that you can pay. Buy another one with the profit, then buy another one, then buy another one. And when you're done, 20 years down the road, you're like, I'm done. I'm stopping to deal with this. You sell everything. The mortgage will pay itself. Exactly. All the profit, you take it out.
It's the cost of opportunity. If you're trying to pay your house fast, so let's say right now interest rates are around, they're getting pretty high, but it's still not. So let's say 2 years ago, interest rate was like 1%. Now it's more around like 4 or 5%. Yep. So if I'm trying to pay my house as fast as possible, I'm just trying to save that, let's say 5% interest. Yeah. But if I take that money and then invested in either my business or myself or the markets, I'm going to do way more than 5% like return. So why am I dumping all my money into this, trying to save 3, 4, 5% when my business can do 25% with it, right? So
it's what's interesting because, again, it's not something that's really taught, but a line of credit, I just got a new line of credits at 4.6. At 4.6, I could literally cash it out, dump it on Vanguard's index VOO, which tracks the SP500.
Yeah.
10 years, for the past 70 or 80 years, it's been doing
9%.
10% is about what they say over 10 years. That's without the compounding interest.
Yeah.
So you're making it less 10%, so I can double the money by borrowing from the bank.
A lot of, like, it's the arbitrage between the cost of borrowing and how much you're making. So the 4%, 10%, you're keeping 6% arbitrage. I mean,
and it's not even your money.
Exactly. But not everybody's built for that too. A lot of people go crazy debt and they sell, they get emotional and they sell, and they lost on both. They lost on the money they borrowed, and they lost on the actual investment, you know?
That's why having something, a fund where you can just dump every 2 weeks that you never, don't look at it, don't even open. If you're not meant for this, don't open the app. But I can look and it says I lost 10% last month, and I'm like, yeah, who cares?
Right now everybody's losing too.
At the end of the day, it's going to be fine. Just continue. That means it's 10% down. That means I'm paying less to buy more now. Yeah. So I'll just buy more.
Warren Buffett say, if you don't want to break your head, just get an index fund and just put some money, even small account, every month forever. Right.
Yep.
The difficult part about me doing that is that I'm a business owner. I need cash flow for my business, and I never know what income is going to come. When you have a steady income, you know every month you're going to have 2 paychecks. So it's easy to allocate $300 per month for an index fund. But when you're an entrepreneur, I'm not even sure that next month. So let's say January this year, we just came out of like the winter lockdown. I mean, honestly, $0 that month, because everything was still closed and people didn't know when. So, but I can deal with it because I've been managing my cash flow for the last 15 years. So I can last through months with $0 coming in, as long as one day like business has to reopen. So it's a lot of, you got to take the emotional part out of all this. And I always tell people, like, oh, Vinny, where should I invest? I'm like, first of all, it's not up to me to tell you, but what I did is, like, number one, always I invested in myself. So whatever, school, learning, YouTube, invest in your brain, right? Because nobody can take that away from you. And it's those skills that's gonna take you further. And then I'd say invest in your business. Your business is gonna generate cash flow for you. And then when you're done with these two, most people stop there, just you and the business. And if you have extra cash flow, which I only started doing that 2 years ago, then you go into markets and stocks, real estate, crypto, arts, and all that stuff.
Find something. See, the best advice I could give is to find something you're passionate about. Find something, try out what speaks to you. Because maybe real estate doesn't speak to you at all.
Exactly.
Or you're very emotional about real estate, which is a big mistake. Don't buy something that you love. Buy something that you know you're going to make money off.
You always need an exit plan, even in business. Like I built this new business with an exit plan that I didn't have the first business.
Of course not.
So this new business I'm building is already packaged to sell to whoever wants it. It comes with like intellectual property, client list, existing customers, existing suppliers. Like whoever wants to buy me at whatever point in my life, it's ready to sell.
So whoever's listening to this that wants to buy, it's for sale. That's what I'm hearing right now. Man, we've been going for 45 minutes.
Oh, cool. That went fast.
Yeah, man. I got a question. I always finish my podcast with the same question. If you had the chance to speak to your 14-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Oh my God. I was a crazy kid when I was 14. I was getting into a lot of trouble, and I was just very angry and very rebellious, and I was just surrounded with a lot of bad influence people. Like I had a lot of problem with like the police and the laws and everything. But going back then, which like my family, my teachers, everybody thought I was gonna be some kind of bum or like a criminal or whatever. But that rebellion, that edge, that what made me different back then, that what made me stand out, that everybody wanted me to fit in, it's actually what made me successful today.
Of course.
Because I've always stood out. I've always been different. I've always been kind of like, I never really listened, to be honest. And being that stubborn and different, I became my own boss. Yeah. And I started like almost like a movement with my brand. People follow. Whoever fucked with me back then is because they felt the same way. Yeah. And I made like a voice for these people, a brand for these people. And then now, even better, now that I'm like halfway through my life plan, being different and looking different, dressing different and talking different, it opens me so much more doors now. Because like if you go into like this whole entrepreneur thing where they have speakers and they have guests, like nobody comes from my world, like the world of, I don't know, like skateboarding and in rap and in punk rock, and like I've had friends who are into like the streets and all that. So I'm so different that now it is my edge. People want me for that, because you could get a room full of people with suits and ties, and then there's me. Everybody comes to talk to me first, because they want to know what I'm doing there. So going back to the 14-year-old, I would say like, don't believe what everybody told you. Like you don't have to fit in. Like at the end of the day, everybody wanted me to fit in. I really tried, but I couldn't. And then it ended up being like the most, my biggest edge on winning at life in general. Like the fact that I never fitted in. So when you stick out like a sore thumb, people notice you, and it's up to you to take all those opportunities. Being the thumb that sticks out, you have to see the opportunity. If you don't take advantage of what's in front of you for being different, then there's no point of being different. Like you got to use that as a leverage, as a force to really make the best out of it, so you can win out of that, right?
Beautiful, man. Do you have something you want to say as an end? Do you have something you want to shout out? Is there something you want to put out there?
I mean, my own. If I could tell something to all the new generation of entrepreneurs right now, it's so different. Like everything goes so fast, and with the quantity of data and information and internet, like I can tell these kids, the kids, they hustle. I wouldn't say harder, but there's more hustlers in the young generation now than my generation back then. Yeah. And with the tools, and the more you see people succeeding in whatever, even TikToks and all, people are influencers. That's a new job. It didn't exist back then.
Absolutely.
So people making millions out of TikToks now, it's like that's crazy. So I'm like, just explore and then use all these tools that nobody mastered before you guys. Like I don't master TikTok. TikTok is like not my cup of tea. I'm kind of old for that. But I see kids who are so good at it that it's like they use that as a propeller to go where they need to go. And I really admire the new generation of entrepreneurs. They create really big businesses. They solve problems. They use these creative tools to do it. And it's a very like 2.0 and now becoming 3.0, as in making clothes is very like 1.0. Like it's the old business, right?
That's a great thing, man, to be able to be humble enough to say that there's things you don't get, that don't work for you, or it's just not you. But to have respect for those young ones, because I agree with you, man. Mm-hmm. Some of the stuff that they do is fucking amazing. Yeah. To me, makes no sense, but they just figured it out.
It makes sense for them and the people like them. It doesn't make sense for us, because like we're we're older and we're kind of becoming the old uncle who's trying to say that their times was better. Like sometimes I catch myself doing that. Though it was better in our times without internet. We used to go outside and play. Okay, right. They don't play that much outside. Yeah. But could you when you were 10? Did you leverage like 3 million followers and monetize all that? No, you didn't. Right. The kid who opens boxes on YouTube making like 50, 60 million a year, like that's crazy too. So
good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. I wish I thought of that. Good for him. Good for him. Man, thank you, because for the people listening and watching, just so you know, we're in Vinny's house, so he allowed us in.
Yeah, so, welcome to my place. Started from the Côte des Neiges basement. I moved about 10 times, and this is my new place here.
But thanks for having us.
Thank you, man.
You've been listening to the Nico Lagan Show. Nico has been involved in the martial arts for 20 years. He's a Muay Thai coach, focus coach, podcaster, and sought-after public speaker. We hope you've enjoyed the show, and we hope you've gotten some useful and practical information. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Coach Nico Lagan and on YouTube at The Nico Lagan Show. See you next time.